Oh, hell. Hello. Anyhow, yeah. So, yeah, we're gonna go into some more positive. Positive. I am not the poster child of positive, man. But, and, sometimes I forget that I might actually have people paying attention and listening to what I'm saying. So because that's the case, I guess I gotta be aware of that. So I guess I can talk. I would like to talk some more about this stuff because I don't want to give the wrong impression or mislead people, and I don't want to be unclear because so when I'm talking about like sobriety and 12-step shit, like this is no joke. Like this is no joke. It's not something to take lightly, and I want to make sure I'm not doing that. And because this is life or death shit for people, and even just like being people be really enhancing their awareness and becoming more truly awake is really important. Um, and also I don't want to come across as that if I judge people that smoke weed or anything like that. I mean, it's none of my business what other people do. I mean, um, I am who I am. I view things through the lens that I view them, and so, I mean, but ultimately, I'm not. I'm aware that I really don't know that much. I really don't know very little. I may perceive things like for example that I see a lot of sheeple, but I am aware that I don't really know. I don't really know, and and I think humility is like a very important thing. But also at the same time, I am no poster child of humility, honesty. I mean, I do what I can, but I don't want my words to end up causing harm at all. And I just kind of don't. Mostly when I go about my business regarding things like doing videos and stuff, I never really see that as just something that I could potentially be doing is causing harm with my videos. A lot of it is because I just assume people don't pay attention. But so I wanted to. So this morning I was kind of talking about 12 steps and abstinence from alcohol and drugs and stuff. And I wanted to go into a little bit like the steps is really equally as important as abstaining from drugs and alcohol for someone like me. And I didn't really talk too much about the steps, which I don't know that I'm going to. And again, a part of it is anonymity. And so this is the deal with anonymity is that, see, I'm kind of breaking my anonymity by doing videos like this. But like I said, I feel like I only have 3 subscribers. I don't really see it as that potentially harmful to talk about this. If I had like 200 or 300 subscribers, I wouldn't talk about this. Which is why I kind of like only having like 3 subscribers, because I can kind of speak more freely about some of this stuff, And so the reason for anonymity is because, like, if I'm doing a video and I'm talking about the 12 steps in sobriety and recovery, and somebody's like, is like, you're kind of, I think I'm kind of interested in the 12 steps and sobriety and stuff. And then let's say like tomorrow, I turn on a video and I'm like talking about how I relapsed and, and then I'll just pick up the crack pipe and start smoking it and talking about how I relapsed. Well, then all I did was prove to anybody that was previously listening that the steps is shit. I'm just proof that none of this works and none of it's real. And so that's the main reason for anonymity. It's not a rule. There are no rules in the steps and this thing, but there is a really big emphasis on anonymity because of that reason. Because if I'm like, say I have a channel with 2,000 subscribers and I'm talking about this shit openly, and then I relapse, and I've got like 2,000 subscribers who've been listening to me and I've been inspiring them, and then I relapse. Well, that's not fair to the 12 steps, AA, and it's not fair to all those viewers. Because a lot of people might view that as, well, that fucking 12 step is a bunch of bullshit. So that's why anonymity is a big part of it. And that's why promotion is also, that's why Alcoholics Anonymous is against promotion. They don't promote this shit on billboards and commercials and trend it on fucking these shitty platforms and stuff, because it's not about all that, man. It's not about all that's all bullshit here. So I want to just try to make it clear, I am no poster child of this stuff. I'm no the steps is real. The more I apply them and do them, the more it's going to benefit me and everyone else around me. And then also, like people view me and I live in this trailer, right? And then I'm complaining or whatever. And they'll be like, well, what's sobriety done for this guy? He looks fucking miserable. What are the steps done for this? And I suppose there is, and that's another thing why anonymity is important. But again, like, I only have 3 subscribers and whatever. And also the other thing, though, is, what success is subjective to the person, which I would like to talk about. See, I've been anti-establishment, since before high school, and so the way I live is, in a lot of ways, what I want. I want to be off grid. I want to be unplugged from the beast system as much as possible. And so I live in this trailer, but I know why. I know why. I had a career. I had a fucking career. I left that career because of how toxic it is. And I chose to start moving more and more off grid. I chose it because out of principle, because I understand principle and integrity, and also being true to myself. I'm not really being true to myself when with a lot of this stuff that society likes us all to be participating in. I'm not being true to myself participating in it. And so that's one of the reasons why I live this way. Everybody's different. What success is to you might be totally different than what it is for me. And so, people could say, well, what are the steps in sobriety done for this guy? Look at him, how miserable he is. Well, I mean, I don't know. What do you define as success? What do you define as misery? One way to look at it is look at Diogenes. The philosopher Diogenes. He lived in he lived in a wooden barrel out on the streets, and he was one of the greatest philosophers of his time. but that was part of his philosophy. He's a cynic. The 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 philosopher Diogenes invented the philosophy of cynicism, and he would go in and crush all these philosophers that lived in nice houses and had all of these accolades of praise for what great philosophers they were. Diogenes would just go in and crush them, and he's just some fucking homeless dude out on the street. But you know, over time, people realize that Diogenes is a badass motherfucker. Like, money don't mean shit, dude. Money doesn't mean nothing to me. Now, it may mean something to somebody else, and that's their business. That's none of my business. But as far as my life and what I do, there's a very specific reason that I live the way I do, you know. And I have no, you know, how someone else lives their life is their business. Dude, you know, you don't even understand. Like, I have friends that are like CEOs of fucking companies, like big companies and shit. And I've talked about this before. Like, one of my friends does international cybersecurity for the FBI, and so they live their own life. And you know that I have nothing against them. And I don't look down upon them, and but that's what they choose to do. I personally don't choose to be a CEO. Like, I just did a video explaining how these big corporations are fucking panhandling me every time I go into a store. See, I live my life a lot of it based in principle. And I'm like, a lot of the way that I live my life, the principle has to do with not depending on the system. I'm not totally off grid and completely independent, but the more that I can reduce my dependence on the system, the more I am succeeding in my life. But success is different for different people. And I'm not here to judge what success is for anyone else. It's none of my business. My life is my business. Not other people's lives are none of my business. You know, Frank Zappa. Frank Zappa. And by the way, Frank Zappa never did drugs or alcohol all of his life. I think when he was young, once or twice, he tried weed once or twice. But outside of that, motherfucker never did any drug. That's why I regard Frank Zappa. I relate with Frank Zappa. And then when you start looking at what Frank Zappa did, I mean, dude, this guy was a genius. And people don't know, and that's okay. Whatever, then. I don't care if you don't know that Frank Zappa is a genius. That motherfucker's a genius. And Frank Zappa said, the most important thing that you can do with your life is not interfere with someone else's life. That is success. To me, that is success. The most important thing I can do with my life is to not interfere with someone else's. I agree. So if I'm living in a trailer and I'm not living up to other people's standards of what they think success is, that's fine. As long as I'm not interfering in someone else's life, I've succeeded. Whereas you've got all these people that drive nice cars and live in nice houses, and they think it's their duty to always be interfering in everyone else's life. Well, to me, they're a miserable failure. I don't care how nice their house is and their car is and shit, you know. And then when you look at the workforce, again, I'm not trying to say everybody can live their life however they want, you know. And I'm not saying that the way I live my life is the way everyone else should live theirs. Everybody's different, and it's none of my business what other people do. But for me, you know, this is the way I want to live. This is where it aligns with my principles. I don't really care that much about money. You know, kind of like that Beatles song. I don't care too much for money. Money can't buy me love. And that is so true, dude. Money cannot buy love. And love is more important. It really is. I know I'm this negative, cynical guy, but when it gets right down to brass tacks and shit, dude, love is real. Dude, that's why I've been a participant in AA for 23 years. Those people love me, genuinely love me, and I genuinely love them. I've known people for like 2 decades. There are people that I've known for almost my entire journey, and fucking, they love me, genuinely love me, and I genuinely love them. I understand what love truly is. And love is not what they say it is on the radio. When you turn on the radio and you hear all these love songs and, you know, all this media, all that shit, that's not what love is. That's all a big fucking lie. See, I understand all these things. Not by my virtue. I need to reiterate and remind myself too. But nonetheless, you know, I'm not going to sit here and fucking cower. And I make no apologies for my temperament at all. Like, I may not be the smartest tool in the shed, but I could guarantee you I am not a dumb motherfucker. I know what I'm doing. I know why I do what I do. And sure, my life isn't a bunch of rainbows and butterflies and unicorn fucking farts. Well, how boring life would be if it was all just rainbows, butterflies, and unicorn farts. No thanks. I'd rather live on the edge and fucking and end up having to encounter witches who want to burn my shit down and fucking kill me. I'd rather live an authentic life than to live some fucking fake bullshit just because everybody told me that that's what I'm supposed to do. Now, if other people do that, it's none of my business. And it's really not even my business to judge them. I can be of good judgment and look at that and say, I don't want to be like that. That's fine. But what do I know about them people? Not much. What do I know about anything? Not much. You know? But anyways, so there's a lot more to what I was talking about than just abstinence from drugs and alcohol. But then again, you know, it's like, you know, making them points is like, you know, what do most of these sheeple, so-called sheeple, have in common? Well, they're all popping these weird big pharma pills, including the benzos and the tombstones and the, you know, the Norcos, and then they're all smoking 2 joints, just like Sublime told them to smoke 2 joints in the morning. They're all hitting the bar like Hollywood told them. You know, it isn't Hollywood. Those Hollywood stars, don't they look so cool when they're drinking, sitting at the bar drinking that? Like James Bond is at the bar drinking. Man, that's so cool. Everybody's doing it. It's so fucking cool. It's so fucking hip, slick, and cool that every motherfucking buddy's doing it. How many people do you know that have been abstaining from all that shit for over 23 years, man? You ain't gonna find them. They're hard to find. Unless you go to a meeting or something. You know? Again, I'm not trying to promote any of this stuff. All I'm doing, all these people want to talk about they want to just go on and on about red pill and being awake and everything. And so I'm just kind of like just talking about my experience with being awake and what it really means to me. You know? And when I see the sheeple, whether they're real or perceived, what do they all seem to have in common? Well, they're all smoking 2 joints in the morning, and they're all acting like they're James Bond at the bar with a shot glass and drinking it. Yeah, everything is so cool. Well, what is really going on with? And they're all popping the Norcos and benzos, and everything is a big fucking party. What's really going on here? You know? I've gotten to know many, many people far better than me in these rooms, in AA and shit, that are way more awake, have way more profound shit to say than anything I'm fucking seeing online. All these fucking gurus, red pill gurus all over the place. Dude, they got nothing on it. I don't care if people believe me or not. You know? I know I'm not a stupid motherfucker. Again, I may not be the smartest big internet guru, but I do not make any apologies for my temperament at all. I know myself, which is very rare. Most people, many people don't even know themselves, and they don't know that they don't know themselves. So yeah, it doesn't really impress me if someone lives in a nice place. I mean, that's J.J. Cale. Any of you heard of J.J. Cale? J.J. Cale said, "All that fucking gold don't mean a thing." It's in one of his songs. All that gold don't mean a thing. He's fucking right, dude. I don't care. None of that shit. And my friends, like my friends that are fucking, that are big ballers and live in the upper middle class neighborhoods and fucking this and that. They know that too. All this gold and money, it doesn't mean a fucking thing. And they know me for who I am. They're not looking at how much money I have or whether I'm living by what they think standards are. No. I am not, by any means, though, the poster child of sobriety and AA. Please understand. I haven't done any of that shit for over 23 years. And I do my best most of the time. But no, I'm far from perfect. But at the same time, I know which direction to go. I have a purpose. And it's not by my own virtue. I don't know how it happened, but I do have a very specific purpose and direction in life that is important despite what people might believe. I don't care what people believe. I just don't give a fuck, But anyways, yeah, I normally would never talk about this stuff, but like I said, because I don't really have a lot of views and stuff, I feel okay talking about it. But I also don't want to be a bad influence on others. So I'm kind of trying to, just add a little more, because like I said, I like people that I know, that are doing the same thing as me. Like there are people that I know that are, as far as financially, that they fucking do very well. And dude, these people that I've known, dude, the amount of freedom that comes from doing the steps and the shit and abstaining and doing the steps, like is practically limitless, which is why I live the way I live. Like there are no limits in a sense. What is success? That's up to you. What do you think success is? And what you think success is may be different than me. Like I said, like me, the more I go off grid, the more I detach from the system, that's the direction for me. And in that sense, I'm doing better than a lot of these people online that are dick swinging and bragging about how they're detached from the system and everything else, and I'm doing like way more than they are. And again, not by virtue, it's just what I choose to do. But yeah, using the steps and this stuff, it's the shit that it does is amazing for people. I have tons of people in my life that have been doing this better than I have and longer than I have. And dude, that was another thing I want to mention. I've seen people like Al. This guy was such a badass. He passed away a couple of years ago. And he's a Vietnam vet, and he has been through and seen every fucking thing. He was one of the biggest fucking drug dealers you would ever meet in your life, and he has fucking done any and every drug you could possibly imagine, like to the fucking extreme. Okay? And he didn't get sober until the later part of his life. Like by the time when he was 70, he came in, and I watched him. And like within a year or two, man, that motherfucker, I mean, he far surpassed me in wisdom and everything else. And I've got like 20 years on this motherfucker or some shit. No, not 20. How much did I have when I first met him? I had fucking whatever, 16 years on this motherfucker or some shit. And within a year, that motherfucker had far surpassed me as far as growth. Because it's not just about abstaining from drugs and alcohol. Like you get into all this stuff about, when you do the steps, like there's all this internal growth. That's what the steps are about. And everybody works them at their own pace. And this crazy motherfucker, man, within a year, this guy is like spitting shit that's far beyond any of this crap you see on the internet and stuff. And I loved him, like, fucking all these guys, man. There's fucking and so it's not about, like, it doesn't matter how old you are, and it doesn't matter how late in the game a person jumps in on this shit, because I've seen, you just see miracles all the time. I know it sounds cheesy and bullshit, whatever. I don't care. That's the thing about that movie, The Matrix, when Morpheus says, unfortunately, no one can be told what the Matrix is. You have to see it for yourself. I've seen what I've seen. I know what I know. I don't care what other people's opinions are. People that have never even seen what I'm talking about, when I'm talking about being involved in the steps, the sobriety, they've never seen any of this shit. These people that have never seen anything, but then they want to try to, doubt me. I don't care what those people think. They think whatever the fuck they want. It's none of my business what they think. I don't give a shit. But no, man, it doesn't matter how old. Just the sooner the better. If a person's a fucking addict and alcoholic and all this stuff, the sooner they get into it, the better for them and everyone else. But I've seen people that they don't come in till like their late 60s, early 70s, and within a year or two, man, they're fucking beaming like a motherfucker. And dumbass me, I'm just still kind of inching along like a turtle. I'm doing it, but man, some of these guys, they fucking just they're just fucking burst into these massive beams of light, and it's real shit, dude. It's fucking real. And everybody's different, and I'm not ashamed, but like I said, I just want to make sure to point it out that I am no poster child of this stuff. Far from it, I'm probably just your average milquetoast kind of guy. But I mean, there's fucking amazing people. And I mean, depending on a person's viewpoint, some people that understand what I'm doing with my life, might view that, like when I worked in the homeless service provider field for 10 years, a lot of people were very impressed with that. They're like, wow, they're like, at least you're doing something meaningful with your life, I know people that are rich and their jobs are these meaningless jobs where they're basically ripping people off and stuff, and they're doing well financially, but what is their life, and here you are, you're fucking working for this homeless youth organization, doing street outreach for fucking 8-10 years. I mean, wow, that's really meaningful. I mean, that's, some people get really impressed by these things, which is like whatever. The one thing that I have become gradually more and more able to understand in my life is that whatever virtues that I may display or whatever, it really isn't me. No credit. I deserve very little, if any, credit at all, and I'm okay with that. I don't care. What does it matter? That doesn't matter to me, But yeah, no, I'm just another bozo on the bus, man. I mean, if it's at all possible where I can like put out some kind of content or something that can have a positive impact on other people, man, I mean, wow, what more could I ask for? Who cares about money and shit, And so I'm not like real good at it. Maybe to some people I am. I feel like I can reach crazy people like me, dumpster dwellers like me, We all have our own little niche, you know. I might be better at you know, reaching certain types of people than others, and I'm not trolling. I'm not sitting here trolling around trying to get people to drink my Kool-Aid or anything. That's why I always like to try to point out that like AA is an answer. It's not the answer, but it is an answer, and it works really good for some people, and I don't know why, but it does. And but I know, you know, there's certain things that I know that motherfuckers will never know, you know, and that's okay with me. And there's a lot of shit that other people know that I'll never know, and that's all right. I guess the more we exchange information, the more we can all learn and grow together. But yeah, I mean, maybe look into Diogenes. I'm kind of a I never knew that. Somebody pointed that out to me because I was running my channel for like 7 years, and this one guy who'd been following me for a few years, he pointed out Diogenes to me and gave me a link to a video about Diogenes. He's who's a philosopher, and I was laughing because he's like, you remind me of this Diogenes guy, and then I looked into it and I was like, whoa. He's my favorite philosopher of all time. Diogenes is by far my favorite because he's just some fucking homeless bum out on the streets in fucking Greek Roman times or whatever, and he just didn't give a fuck. And he would smash these motherfuckers, these Socrates and all these guys, and mock them for how stupid some of their shit is. And his Diogenes, his philosophy was termed cynicism, the philosophy of cynicism, and I'm just kind of naturally that way, I guess. In certain aspects of my point of view, I can be very cynical. But and like it's funny, like Diogenes, even though he's just a shitty bum, right? He would go in and fucking and clown these hoity-toity philosophers and hand them their ass on a platter, and then just go back to his fucking cardboard box out onto the street. And he became so legendary that the Caesar during that time, I don't know, one of those Caesars had heard about Diogenes and was so impressed with him that he went out into the streets to find him in his cardboard box. And the guy's like, the Caesar was like, wanted to shake his hand and tell Diogenes how impressed he was with him. And Diogenes like, yeah, okay, whatever, man. And then the Caesar asked him, is there anything that I can do for you, or anything, you know, that I as Caesar can do? And fucking Diogenes looked at him and was like, yeah, you can get out of my light. You're standing right in front of the fucking sun, and I'm trying to bathe in the sun over here, and you're standing right in my fucking light. Could you just like step over a couple feet or something? Could you get out of my and so he became famous for this kind of attitude that of course, I'll never be as good as Diogenes. Not that I really care to. I've never, like, I didn't even know that I had those kind of attributes or whatever until somebody pointed out, and I started laughing. Oh yeah, no, Diogenes is by far the greatest philosopher that ever lived, if you ask me. But anyways, no, I am no poster child. I am no poster child for this sobriety AA shit. And you know, I don't want to give the wrong impression or give AA a bad name or anything like that. I'm totally in love with AA. I don't plan on that ever changing. I'm a fucking diehard to the fucking core, and I don't give a fuck what anybody thinks about it. But as far as breaking anonymity, I do respect the steps, and I don't really have an interest in breaking anonymity or anything like that. And but I mean, like I said, you know, I don't really have a lot of views, so I'm not really necessarily breaking anonymity. And it's not like a law or a rule, but it's just It's just a thing. That's why it's called Alcoholics Anonymous. There's a reason for all these things, and I have mad respect for them. So I really, I'm kind of, for me personally, based on my own principles, I am kind of treading a fine line here, for me. But again, like, I don't have not many people listen to me, which is good for me because then I can more freely speak on stuff that I otherwise wouldn't. But no, I am unapologetically proud of being a 12-stepper. It's a spell book. There's more magic in that than there is in anything. That is the only real magic that I've ever come across. And it's real. And it's positive. There are no baleful effects from it. It's just good shit, It ain't gonna hurt nobody. But no, I don't. I'm not. I don't really want to be like trolling around trying to get people to drink my Kool-Aid or anything either. But I mean, for some people, it might be worth looking into. It's a really amazing thing. It's a really truly amazing thing. And so, anyways, enough of that bullshit.